Now this is my friend's BMW E46 M3, and as promised, he is going to tell us why he bought this car at 22 years old. So let's pick its brains.
Doesn't sound like it. Should we have a look?
Yeah, that's quite...
It's quite hefty noise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should I go in here?
Yeah, go in here. I need a wee now.
Can I go in here?
Yeah.
My friend bought an E46 and it died immediately.
As soon as we press record, it dies.
Is it very obvious if there's a puncture then?
Well, yeah. Alright then.
Jesus. I'm alright then. You were fine either
Alright,
way,
yeah. So
Right.
we ran over something, and I don't know what it was. It was a metal thing.
Yeah.
Like that big.
Absolutely.
But
I don't
must
know what
have
it
just been
was.
stuck in the groove. So
That was
we were right.
terrifying. So my lights flashed before my
Thank
eyes.
God for that. Well, almost off for a bad start.
Almost. We're good though. We're safe.
There's only a tyre anyway, I suppose.
Yeah.
So this isn't your first BMW, is it?
No. So beforehand, I had another E46, but I had the 330 Ci, which I got for about £4,000.
Right.
And I think for that price point, £4,000, there's not much better you can get, to be honest. It had a
amazing,
3
isn't
litre,
it?
yeah, absolutely, 3 litre inline six, 5-speed manual. I loved it to pieces. I had it for years. But the opportunity to buy this came up, and I was umming and ahhing for a little bit, kind of debating whether it'd be enough of an upgrade, because I was worried they'd be too similar.
Yeah.
So I was looking at E92 M3s as well, roughly about the same price. 15 grand is why I actually paid for this. For a little bit more, you can get a nice E92. And I was looking at both of them, and I drove both in the same day. And, you know, I love the E92, I love the way it looks, especially, I love the way it sounds. But, you know, I floored it in it, and it sounded amazing, and it was quick, but it was super solid. It was great. But I floored it in this, and it's, you know, it's just that noise. There's something about it.
There is. I mean, you know what? I never really bonded with the E46. I've never driven one.
Yeah.
But whenever I'd see one, it didn't do anything for me in the past.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get in it and you feel what this car's like,
Yep.
it's got so much character.
It's the balance, and it's the size, especially. These cars are really quite small, much smaller than the E92.
Yeah, a lot smaller. The E92's it's getting into modern car territory.
Honestly,
so, I mean, BMW's just
really
getting
big.
bigger and bigger, aren't they?
Absolutely.
This is a small car.
It's tiny. It's tiny and it's light. This thing weighs about, I think, a little over 1,400 kilos, which is, you know, it's not a Lotus, don't get me wrong. Straight up here.
Yeah.
It's not a Lotus.
No.
But
how much does it weigh?
But just over 1,400 kilos.
Okay. Yeah. It's about what a modern 2 Series would weigh.
About right, yeah. I think 2 Series might weigh a little bit more, actually.
Yeah.
But the E92, it weighs significantly more, and that's because of that great engine in the front. I really love the S65 engine. They're wonderful. High revving V8s, brilliant. And I probably would like to own
fantastic.
one. Exactly right. I'd love to own one day, but there's something about this car. I just connect with it way more. I don't know what it is, because that car had a manual as well, and it has a DCT as the automatic, which is significantly better than the SMG gearbox that came standard with these.
Yeah.
I wanted a manual car. That was kind of one of my prerequisites for a new car. Sorry, where was I going? Going left?
Yeah. So this is almost 20 years old.
Yeah, so this is actually a late 2006 manual E46 M3. So this is one of the last ones that they did.
Right.
And they made this car for years. I think they made this car for about 6 years. I think it came out in 2000.
Right.
Which is a long time, I think. 6 years to be producing this. And by the time this went into its life cycle, the RS4 came out. You know, the C63 was basically rearing its head. I think it'd come out. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
actually.
I think it was about 2006. Oh, what's that?
That is lovely, isn't it?
That's nice.
Wow.
Hello.
Stunning. So by the time this was kind of coming to the end of its lifetime, things had really kind of moved on, which is fine for me because you can get late examples still relatively quite cheap.
Yeah.
And so what was the actual question? My bad.
Well, I just said this is 20 years old, so... Fucking hell!
It's a lovely sound.
God, it sounds good, doesn't it?
It's a lovely sound. You can just kind of feather that throttle in. That's not even in sport. So
but it's got so much feeling, hasn't it?
It really, really does. It's got amazing feels through the pedal, the steering. A lot of people talk about the steering. A lot of people talk about the steering not being very responsive. I tend to disagree. So I don't drive, you know, every latest sports car. I don't get to drive a massive amount of stuff. So for me, this feels great. I love
Probably
it.
to an absolute purist who's driven every BMW that's ever existed.
Exactly, right? It's always
But
that.
you're not going to notice, are you?
Yeah.
You obviously chose an older car that's more analogue.
Absolutely.
So what drew you to this and not to a modern BMW or something else, something that's, you know, 2015 or newer?
Absolutely. So I guess the closest example to this I can think of is really one of the new M4s, or new M4s, like 2013 M4, no, 2015 M4s, or the M2. You know, they're great cars in their own respect. They really, really are. They're fantastic. They're quick. They're much quicker than this. Reliability, they're probably significantly more reliable than this.
Yeah.
This thing has eye-watering. This is beautiful around here.
I know, it's staying.
Yeah, eye-watering maintenance bills sometimes with this. You really have to be careful with the ones that you buy.
Yeah.
But there's a few things about this car that really drew me to it. This gearbox, oh my God. So the last owner before this installed this short shifter, and I put this weighted knob on, this lovely Stormworks weighted knob.
It's lovely.
And the way it feels, the way it changes, the way you can... Oh my God, it's wonderful. I just love it to pieces. Secondly, that engine, oh my God, revs to 8K, no turbos. It's so linear, it's wonderful.
It is, yeah.
And you don't really get that as much on an M2. I've driven them, they're really, really, really good cars. I could probably own one day, especially as a daily. They're probably better as a daily than this is.
Yeah.
But for the reference, I do daily this, 300 miles a week. On average, sometimes more, which is a lot for these cars.
It is, yeah.
But you know, this thing's had rod bearings done, it's getting vanos done, rear subframe reinforcement. Those are kind of big three that you should definitely look for, that they've been done or do them yourself.
Yeah.
And I think once those are usually sorted, they're pretty reliable. They're pretty bulletproof, to be honest.
Those are the main issues.
Wonderful, and also the way these cars look. I mean, it's all personal preference.
Good, yeah.
I do like the way the new M4 looks quite a lot, to be honest.
Do you?
Controversial opinion, I know.
I quite like the new grille, to be honest, but
I'm getting used to it.
I just think the cars are getting too big.
Yep.
And they're too plasticky. Everything on them looks like cheap.
Yeah.
And you think, God, why would I spend 90 grand on that when you can get something?
Absolutely.
Christ.
That sound, this engine,
man.
it's wonderful. It really, really is.
What on earth?
I was going to say.
In this field up here, there's some kind of hunt going on, and there's just like a horseshoe shape of cows.
How strange.
What they're doing, it looks like some sort of satanic ritual.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What's happening here?
I don't know.
I need to make sure
the hunt's out in full force. Wow, that is a lovely horse.
It's beautiful, isn't it? The size of that thing.
It's massive. Jesus Christ.
Make sure I don't take the piss.
No, yeah, don't scare it.
Right.
So, as you mentioned, you bought this new shifter knob.
Yes.
Has that made a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So the short shifters, well, I've got a bit of open road here.
Bloody hell, it's only 6 revs, doesn't it? Jesus Christ.
It really does. It's like...
Jesus.
It's a quick car.
Fuck me.
Surprisingly quick for a car that's almost 20 years old.
That's quick enough. This is the thing, like, cars have got too quick.
Yes, that's the thing.
This is as much as you could possibly use
100%.
in the real world. Especially in England, the roads are shit.
They're terrible. Buying this car has made me really realise this. But this car, I think roughly has it knew about 330 horsepower, roughly.
Yeah.
And that is more than enough for UK roads. And I will stick by this, to be honest. It's more than enough, especially with a high revving engine. You can use all of it, all the way to 60. It's fantastic.
But it's much more fun having a car that you can... Oh, last motor good scene.
That was lovely, yeah.
Having a car that you can utilise all of its power.
Absolutely.
And really get the most of it, play it like an instrument.
You can wring its neck, I mean...
You can't do that with a modern car. It's too much. Shit.
Wonderful.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. And so, anyway, this short shifter, it's a common mod on these cars, but it makes the gear shift really notchy. Some people love this. I mean, it does feel great, but I wanted it a little bit smoother, so I installed this really weighted knob that makes these changes a lot nicer to do.
Okay.
And just driving feel, I mean, you can just throw it around these corners. Don't get me wrong, it's not a 911.
Yeah.
It isn't, and it's not trying to be.
No.
You know, this thing does have 4 seats. It does have a big boot. You can put the seats down as well. It's a practical, everyday car. And you know what? One of my favourite... Oh my God.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, downshift. One of my favourite things about this car is that it's a bit of a chameleon. So you can drive...
Go left it.
Absolutely, okay. It's a bit of a chameleon.
Yeah.
You can drive it like this, On a lovely...
This is quite I'd go slow because there's horses.
Brilliant, okay.
There's a stable around the corner. But
so this is this car's secret part that people don't really speak about.
yeah.
Inherently, this car is a 3 Series.
Yeah.
That is what it is. It's a 3 Series with, you know, a lot of upgrades, don't get me wrong. This engine, it's entirely different. I had a 330 Ci. These are very different cars, but you can daily these cars comfortably, very comfortably actually, and they're designed to be so. These cars don't enjoy sitting in garages at low mileages and just kind of used every now and then. They don't enjoy being garage queens.
No, you're right.
They're meant to be used.
Totally. I think that is a sort of problem in this country, that everyone's so obsessed with putting miles on the car, but actually a car that sits there ends up getting more problems. It ends up 100%. Seizing up. It's a car is built to be used, and as long as you maintain it properly, it's much better for it. 100%.
So I bought this car about 80,000 miles, and I put about 5,000 miles on it kind of so far.
Yeah.
No problems at all. It's been absolutely brilliant. Make sure you get it inspected. Make sure you do the good jobs.
Yeah.
But other than that, it will look after you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can commute from this thing, from London to Leamington Spa, you know, every week, hundreds of miles, no issues. In terms of fuel economy, I've seen 30, 35, 40 MPG.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends how you drive it. But that's any car.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good, isn't it? So you've put Apple CarPlay in it, which some people would be quite annoyed about.
Yeah.
But it's your car. So
yeah, it is my car, and I've kept the old unit. But the thing is, I do a lot of miles in this car. It's my daily. I really, really enjoy it, and you know, I don't want to be held back. So I had my 330 Ci, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And I didn't have CarPlay in it. And I had the cables and it all over the place, and it makes the interior look horrible.
Yeah.
People say Apple CarPlay makes the interior look horrible, but having aux cables flying all over the place trying to plug iPhones in, which you will want to do because you'll have friends that want to play music, or maybe you want to play music or listen to a podcast or whatever it may be. I haven't got to worry about that. I get in my 2006 old BMW, connects to my car straight away, and that's like 99% of the modern conveniences that I'm losing from owning a modern car.
Yeah.
And that resolves it for 100 quid. And
100 quid, really?
Yeah, it brings this car right up to date as far as I'm concerned. I get the analog driving experience, but also having modern conveniences. It's great.
Yeah. That's something that I consider doing with my Jag, because it's got an extremely, go left here, by the way. It's got an extremely old-fashioned, actually go straight, sorry.
Go straight.
Straight, yeah. It's got an extremely old-fashioned screen, and it doesn't even have aux.
Oh wow.
So I can't even plug my phone into it.
Yep.
It's got a CD player in the back that's got 6 CD slots, and a mini disc player, which I think was a Japanese thing because it's a Japanese import.
Oh, that's very cool. That's really cool though.
It's quite cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But I've bought this thing. It was only 15 quid, and it's a Bluetooth sort of FM thing. And it plugs into the cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. But the speakers in general in the car aren't particularly good. So,
neither is this. You know, this doesn't have the Harman and Kardon upgrade that was quite common on these cars. This one doesn't have it.
Right.
But I mean, you don't need it.
No.
Based on how this car sounds. I mean, like 90% of the time, I haven't got the radio on.
Yeah, you want
I've got these back
exhaust, don't you?
Absolutely, I've got these back windows open that you might have seen on the E46 before.
Yeah.
And it just sounds, oh my god.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Even at low revs, I can't get enough of it. I really, really can't.
It's not good for your fuel economy, but it's quite fun.
I mean, what are we sitting at right now? We've had a pretty spirited drive. I'm getting 27 right now. I mean, it's not terrible.
No, it's not bad.
It's really not bad.
My Jag gets about 20 on a good day.
20?
Yeah.
In what?
In the Jag.
Oh.
It's not.
Well, you get 20?
Yeah.
I thought you said your dad gets 20.
No, I do, but the Jag.
My God.
It's not a lot.
20 is really, well.
Yeah, but it's a big engine. So we mentioned that one of the reasons you chose this car was the looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what drew you to this particular model, this particular example, and why did you choose it over the other options?
Good question. So I wrote a little piece online that this car became excessively impractical to own because it takes me 10 minutes to get into the shops because I can't stop looking at it. And it's really, really true. I mean, the E46 M3 on its own is a great looking car. It's stunning, but you can make them a really beautiful car with a couple little modifications, and that's what the previous owner of this car has done. So you might have noticed that this car isn't entirely stock, especially on the body kit wise. So we have a CSL front splitter CSL carbon roof panel and a CSL boot lid, along with these CSL style wheels. And altogether, I just think it brings the entire car just a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more aggressive, and I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. I can't stop looking at it. Every time I get out of it, I take pictures. It's, yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, that makes it for me, because I think the standard E46 it doesn't quite have that edge, whereas this has given it that edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's given it that aggressive look.
Yeah.
And when you pulled onto the drive earlier,
Yeah.
I just went, oh my God, that looks so cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it has got a menacing look about it.
And every time I leave my house in the morning, it's kind of, before I get in the car, I'm just kind of,
yeah.
So I just want to quickly talk about the touch points on this car. And what I mean by that is kind of, for me, what makes an analog classic car, if that makes sense, is all the things that you interact with and you're touching while you're kind of living through the driving experience of having a car like this, whether it be a Porsche or whatever it may be. And it's so, so important on a car like this. So these seats, my God, they feel wonderful. The side bolsters feel great. The steering wheel, nice and thick, super adjustable. This gear knob, I'll mention it in the driving bit, but it just feels amazing. This short shifter, this weighted Stormworks knob, it feels great. These pedals, you fit so much road feeling through them. It's really, really wonderful. So this kind of, and the way that this console is like kind of facing towards you, it's a really driver-focused car, and that's what makes cars like this so special. That's why I think there'll always be a kind of cultural touchstone, and why why so many people love them. They feel amazing to drive, and these are the reasons why: seats, steering wheel, gear knob. They're really, really done perfectly, and this is kind of a great era for BMW, and they get it pretty perfect.
So owning a car that's almost 20 years old, it normally comes with higher maintenance costs, and things are more likely to go wrong with it, which you accept when you buy a car like this. But tell us a little bit about how much this car costs to maintain, what the insurance is like for someone of 22 years old, and the road tax, etc.
Absolutely, yep. So kind of all in, to begin with, I paid 15 grand for this car up front. And look, I don't think that's too bad of a price for what it is. And then the thing is, when it comes to these cars, when it comes to maintaining them, as long as you do the big jobs, Vanos, subframe reinforcement, rod bearings, everyone online will tell you this, they're pretty bulletproof. And when I mean pretty bulletproof, things can still go wrong.
Of course. Coil
packs, spark plugs, but that can go wrong on any car.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is kind of the bullet that you bite when you buy an older car like this. The thing is though, that monthly cost, however much it may be, I'd say you'll hear varying opinions online about how much you need to have in the bank, saved up, set aside every month to be able to afford a car like this, to keep it on the road, to keep it good as well.
Yeah.
You'll see people say you need 5-6 grand a year. You'll see people say you need 1-2 grand a year. It really depends, and it depends on the mileage. It depends what's already been done to it. And it depends how much you drive it.
Totally. I think a lot of people get a bee in their bonnet when they've had a bad apple.
Yep.
So the most outspoken people are the ones who've had the worst experience. And that's the same in anything. If you go to a restaurant and you leave a review, normally the review that people leave is when they've had a bad experience because they're so annoyed about it.
Absolutely.
So if someone has all those problems and they all go wrong within a year and they fork out 10 grand fixing it all, they're obviously going to be quite vocal about how unreliable these cars are, they're rubbish, don't buy one. But you probably just got unlucky and you got one that's had everything sort of went wrong at once. And that's not always going to be the case.
Absolutely not.
But I think in general maintaining costs, it's worth it for the amount of pleasure it gives you, isn't it?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I absolutely think so. And it's a really, really interesting one. So road tax, it's £700 a year. It's just flat out, that's how much it's going to cost you. And insurance as well is another big thing to consider, especially when you're kind of a younger driver. These cars are great for young drivers because I think, personally, they kind of teach you how to drive a little bit. They're analog, manual, high revving cars. You have to take care of them. Absolutely, very involving. If you make a mistake, you might pay for it. But it teaches you how to drive properly because you have to be disciplined when you're driving this car, and that's what's so much fun about them. Because once you kind of get that once you kind of get that into that groove, how to really drive them, they're so unbelievably rewarding. Yeah, it's a real man and machine kind of car.
Oh, it is totally, totally. But insurance-wise, how much is this costing you, if you don't mind me asking?
So I pay roughly around £2,000 a year for this.
Really?
Which it's all subjective. If you love to drive, you love enthusiast cars, it's all dependent on how much you're willing to spend on it.
Yeah.
Always, right? For me, that's how much this is worth. For you, it might not be.
Yeah.
And that's completely fine. That's how it's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also, I mean, this car lives mostly in London, doesn't it?
This does,
so
yeah.
That's going to be more expensive, surely.
Yeah, so actually I live here half the week as well.
Yeah.
So I actually insure my car when I'm up here, which cuts the insurance by like 6 times. It's unbelievable.
Really?
So an insurance quote for this in London is about £10,000.
Bloody hell.
For my area anyway.
It's ridiculous. Don't buy a
unbelievable.
car if you live in fact, don't live in London. Get out.
Another thing, my resident parking, £300 a year for this thing because of the emissions. It's ULEZ compliant, don't get me wrong, but I can't talk about the government, can I?
Well, you can, yeah, I mean...
Well, my point was, you know, they don't want people to be driving in London, that's just a fact. And, you know, I'm completely for this, I really do agree with this. However, it is a bit annoying. You know, being a car enthusiast in London is definitely a fight, but car commuting in London is pretty strong, I really, really enjoy it. On the flip side of it, we're quite privileged in the UK because this car, you know, it's £15,000 I paid for this. However, if you want this car in Germany, the US, France, Italy, they're significantly more. So I think if you do live in the UK, you are a young driver and you want something like an analogue classic, I mean, I think these are a really, really good bet and they're not going to get any cheaper. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you want the opportunity to own a car like this, you know, that boat will sail, that opportunity will leave. So, you know, nip it in the bud if you feel like you need to. Yeah.
No, you're right. And also the same with the car that I just sold. I had a BMW M235i.
Yep.
And I sold it for, you know, a lot less than I bought it for. Yep. And people in the comments section of that video from Germany or from other countries, they're like, how are they under 15 grand?
Absolutely.
They're like 25 grand in Germany or whatever. Yep. Which is crazy to me. I'm thinking maybe I should have taken it to Germany and sold it there, but they wouldn't want a right-hand drive car. So it's a catch-22. But yeah, I mean, it means that if you do live in the UK, there are plenty of bargains like this to have at the minute.
Big time.
And this is probably going to go up in value in 10, 20 years. Yeah. It's going to become a classic.
Probably. But, you know, don't get me wrong, you don't buy this car with the idea that you want to make some money. These aren't, there are collector grade cars, but they're not 15 grand. And these cars, you know, they made thousands of them. They're a very, very common car. The reason some are very expensive because they're low mileage. That's the reason. You get a higher mileage one, 80 to 100K and plus. You know, these are high mileage cars. You can get these. People have taken these cars to 200, 300,000 miles of proper maintenance, which is really, really impressive. They're great dailies. Yeah. But if you're going to buy one of these cars, buy it to drive it. Yeah. Don't buy it because you might not lose money on it. Because, you know, you might crash it. Something might go wrong. The engine might blow up. There's a million things that might go wrong on it. Don't buy it for that reason. Buy it because you love to drive it.
I agree. Well said.